Metal Faith Podcast.
Thanks for listening, downloading, streaming, however you get this podcast. If you like what you hear, share the link and tell your friends. Also, check out our Facebook page, Metal Faith, the podcast, and look for us on Instagram. Leave a review, good or bad. Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, how we can improve, even what you would like to hear. Who knows? Maybe we'll even use an idea of yours. And now, on with the show. Welcome once again to the Metal Faith Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron, joined by Chris.
Yeah. Hey, it's January the 13th, 2024.
And we got a special guest today. We are joined today by Terry Sawbones Grant. He's a local musician, got his own band. Go check him out if you can. As well, he's a old-time Stryper fan, and that's what we're talking about today. Going back to 1984, going to talk about their EP, their first EP, and as well as the first, hopefully, their first release, Soldiers Under Command, and the Yellow and Black Attack. How are you doing, Terry?
I'm doing great, Aaron and Chris. Thank you for inviting me to this. This is really cool. It's too bad that we weren't visual because I've got all kinds of show and tell stuff here.
Oh, okay. Well, we could save it for next time. That and I have to figure out how to do my hair.
Well, yeah, I know. And I did mine up just special for this, and now it's all for naught, but that's okay.
Oh, well. And you know what? I'm wearing my brand new Stryper shirt. I was actually going to post, ordered a Stryper shirt from the last battle. Before Christmas, it arrived and they sent me the wrong one. I had to contact them and say, hey, you sent me the wrong shirt. They did. And this week, the correct shirt arrived.
So you said that it's from the last battle?
Yes.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Where did you get that from? Directly from the Stryper website?
Yes. Yeah.
I too am wearing a Stryper t-shirt, but it's just the original logo with the Isaiah on it, on the logo, and I bought this 20 years ago from the Michael Sweet site.
Okay.
And they sent me. I also purchased a couple of Bibles with the Stryper sticker in it, and it was signed both by Michael Sweet and Robert Sweet. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So for those of you who are big Stryper fans, you can actually get all kinds of crap, like cool crap from their website. So I invite you to check it out and get it because they're still active, Aaron? Like they are really.
Oh, definitely. Yes. Like, I mean, it's been 40 years. Yeah. Was it? Yeah. 40 years since Yellow and Black came out and they're still going strong.
Yeah.
You know, some people would say they're even like better than they've ever been type of thing. And I think so. I mean, the new stuff is just as good as the old stuff.
Part of that is the singer Michael Sweet. He can still hit the notes, and he's
totally.
He's taking really good care of himself. Are you a big Stryper guy, Chris, or did Aaron pay you to be on this podcast?
I was hoping you would miss me out because I don't have anything Stryper related yet. So I will eventually.
So you're going to school today?
I think so, yes. Well, I mean, I'll put it this way. There's probably going to be our listeners who are like me, who kind of came in way after. I mean, the only way I found out about Stryper was at People's Church, and on Saturday nights they had a band do worship, and they always opened with Calling on You, and it was awesome. So I went up and asked the guy, well, did you write that? He's like, well, no, that was one of Stryper's number one hits. So that got me right on who Stryper was.
That's really cool. That's a very hard song to perform live if you're not Stryper.
Really?
Did they do a good job, whoever that was?
It was good. I mean, and the way they opened it, and the guitarist had a nice little 30-second guitar intro, which really set the mood for the night. So they did a really good job, and they had a female vocalist who helped them out. So that was really different.
Oh, that's cheating. Yeah, there's not many guys that can sing like
No.
we.
No.
Well, I remember that one band you were a part of, Terry, that actually did Calling on You, and they did a good job with that song as well.
Yeah, well, it's well, thank you. It's pretty hard because it's not just the Michael Sweet vocals, but Stryper has always been great for harmonies live. Eh?
Yeah, harmonies and you know, and the guitar work, man. Those guys are incredible on the rhythm, the lead. I was going to bring that up too. I mean, throughout their career, right from the start, and the last couple of weeks I was listening to these two albums, I guess album and EP type of thing. Yellow and Black was just an EP, but anyways, I listened to them, and right from the start, they had that twin lead guitar harmonized riffs and solos, and you know, just set the tone for what was going to come.
Oh yeah, and they were right part of the. That's why they were so successful, because they were as good or better than any of those bands coming up in the '80s. They were right there with all those dudes, so they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, you know, they were part of that Sunset Strip, and think, you know, they got their start. They were signed in '83. Well, they were formed in '83 under the name Rock's Regime, and then signed themselves to switch their name to Stryper and signed to Enigma. And they were just a regular rock band until they became Christians and decided, you know, let's become a Christian band or a band that sings Christianized lyrics type thing, and switch some of the lyrics around from what they originally had written. But yeah, they were part of that Sunset Strip. And, you know, I think by '83, some of the bands were realizing LA was the place to be, and we're moving down there. But Stryper grew up as part of that scene. You know, they lived there, grew up there, and became part of it.
Yeah, for sure. And that's part of why they were so good, because they were right in with all those dudes like early Motley Crue, Rat, all those guys. And they yeah, you're right. Rock's Regime. That's I remember that. And I was going to ask you, Aaron, your copy of Yellow and Black Attack. What is it? Is it on vinyl? Is it the original pressing? What is it?
Well, I was going to actually mention that. I was always confused that people were calling it the EP. I've got the CD version of it, and it's the re-released version. So it's got a couple extra songs on it.
Yeah.
And I thought, 8 songs, so it's about 35, 40 minutes more. They're calling this an EP? It's a little short for an album, I suppose, but a little long for an EP. And then I realized I've got the re-released version, and it has a couple of bonus songs on it.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I have. I have that on vinyl, and it's the '86 release with Reason for the Season, little Christmas song there.
I've got that one, yeah. The only thing I was confused by, if they re-released it with Reason for the Season, in Japan they also added Winter Wonderland, and I don't know why they didn't add that in the US release, you know.
That's very interesting, and also ironic in that they added Winter Wonderland to a re-release of the CD version of To Hell with the Devil.
Oh, okay,
I noticed that too. Yeah, I thought that was odd.
See, and I got To Hell with the Devil on cassette. Actually, I came late into the Stryper fan base as well. I came when they had In God We Trust out, and went out and bought both In God We Trust, To Hell with the Devil on cassette. But yeah, those would have been the original releases type of thing.
Yeah, it is a interesting that, like, why they would wait until, you know, To Hell with the Devil to put Winter Wonderland on there. But
well, especially when it was already recorded and they throw a Reason the Season on the release of Yellow and Black. But oh well.
Yeah, actually, originally that came out. You could have bought, and I used to have this, but I gave it to somebody like a knucklehead. I had the cassette version single of Winter Wonderland, and on the flip side was Reason for the Season. So that was recorded way back when, in the Yellow and Black Attack days.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, yeah, a little bit of information here too. Then, so 1984, I believe, was the original release for Yellow and Black, produced by Ron Gowdy, and Stryper, and the artwork. Recorded at Amigo Studios. There you go. The re-release was in '86, and this was actually after they received some backing by Daryl. Oh shit, I can't remember. Darren. Can't remember the last name now. This was if you know the Stryper story, this was a wealthy lady who had seen them and thought that all they were doing was just some gimmick with their Christian thing, throwing Bibles out and preaching. They thought this is just a gimmick until she met them and realized they were serious about what they were doing. And she threw in tons of money, I don't know, 10,000, 100,000, something like that anyways, to help back them and their success.
That's right. Yeah, Darren Hint. No, what the heck?
Aiken, Hinton. Yeah, it might be Hinton.
Was it Hinton? Darren?
I got
Darren?
something like that. Yeah.
Darren? Because it was a lady, that's for sure. I remember.
Yeah, with Daryn.
Yeah.
I've got the spelling.
Yeah, Darren Hinton. Maybe that was it.
That could be.
But yeah, it's every band would love to have like a sponsor, and that's what she was, and she had the connections, and yeah. I wonder where they'd be if they didn't have an early sponsor like that.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, like
I mean, they might have gotten there. It might have taken a little longer or something. I don't know. But
yeah,
you're right. We're looking at a band that has the chops, had the sound, and as I was going through these before, harmonized vocals like you brought up, harmonized lead work, and great rhythms too. And just all around great songwriting too.
Oh yeah, and that was the first time that we ever saw. Like we've all seen a whole bunch of different drummers over the years. If you guys are both like metalheads, and if your listeners are metalheads and stuff, and you look at a drummer, you go see a show, and you go, "Oh, there's the drummer. He's facing me." Well, Robert Sweet was the first drummer I ever saw who put his drum kit sideways so you could see his feet.
Yeah, as far as he does that.
Just for those who missed that, so you're saying, Terry, that they were brothers, like Michael and his brother was a drummer?
That is correct, sir.
Huh. I did not know that.
Yep. And Oz Fox, was the other guitar player, and of course Tim Gaines on bass. So, but yeah, it started with the brothers.
Yeah. So yeah, talking about Yellow and Black now. What about the artwork? Should we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
The cover, interesting cover. I'm looking at it, and it was like this circle. It looks kind of like the Earth with the Stryper logo across it. And then there was that re-release cover or something like with the Earth and the 4 rockets coming out of it.
Yeah, that's right. And each of the 4 rockets had each individual band initials on it.
Oh, I never looked at that closely before.
Yeah. I'm presuming you've got the one with the big circle Earth on it. And it just says, it doesn't even say, the one I've got doesn't even say Yellow and Black Attack on it. It just has got the big Earth thing with the big Stryper logo with the Isaiah, and that's it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have to have a second look at mine, and I don't have it in front of me here, but yeah. It's a lot like that. It might say Yellow and Black, or geez, I'm not even sure if it does now. But anyways, yeah, interesting artwork. Simple, but I guess it's a good way to introduce the band.
Yeah, because in the 80s, like I know, Aaron, you're a big fan of metal and stuff, and 80s metal and stuff too. But like Chris, I don't know if you've are familiar too much, because I don't even know Chris. I just met you. Like we just, hey, how you doing? I just met, right? So like with the early 80s albums, a lot of metal bands would have very cheesy covers. Hey, Aaron, do you remember that? Like really?
Oh yeah,
yes.
But this one was cool.
Well, I'll tell you something, Terry. Both of us are metalheads, like you said. You know me from way back when.
Yeah.
And Chris actually knew you way back when you were the radio DJ.
Yeah, back when you did Roxanne.
He's a former listener of Roxanne.
No kidding.
So.
Yeah, I think I came and helped you one night.
Wow. Yeah, we've had a lot of people come and help. Those were late nights.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was.
Well, I remember. I'm not sure if you remember, but I spent like the entire night there just hanging out and chatting while the songs were playing and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's cool to see the process and how it actually went. They don't even do radio like that anymore. Like now, everything.
No.
Yeah.
Computers. Back then, it was cool because you had physical CDs and physical. Like I was still doing the show with cassettes a lot of the time. And, yeah, but it's cool to still have the vinyl and all that. Can I tell you guys a quick cool thing about that regarding Stryper, by the way?
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a Christian bookstore in town, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was on 124th Street, for those of you who live in Edmonton. And
oh yeah,
they I want to call it the Bible bookstore or something like that. And so back then when I was doing that radio show, I was in the store, and vinyl was dying, and now CDs were the hot new thing, right? And
Yes.
everybody was buying CDs, and they were blowing out vinyl, blowing it out like at crazy prices. And I saw this, just a box, a crappy little cardboard box on the floor, and it had all this vinyl in it, brand new vinyl, still in wrappers, and they were blowing them out for 25 cents a piece.
Oh
Wow.
wow.
And I picked up about a half a dozen Stryper albums still in its original wrapper. And
Oh man,
that's
that would have been a great deal.
like first pressing stuff, which would be collector's item stuff now. So, I'm glad I held on to a lot of that, because it's, I mean, I gave away some on the air, but I kept some, but, for my own purposes. But I'm sure glad I didn't talk about that stuff, because, like, I don't know what your vinyl collection is like, guys. I don't know if you even, because you were talking about cassettes and stuff, Aaron.
Yeah. Well, mine's not bad. I was, back in the 80s, I was more of a cassette collector because they were portable. You could pop in your Walkman, you could listen to them anywhere, type of thing.
Yeah.
I converted a lot of them over to CD when CDs came out. I did buy some vinyl, and especially then, what was it, around the 90s, or I can't remember what year, where vinyl was being phased out there, like you said. I bought a bunch, actually, really cheap. I think I bought like an Aussie album, No Rest for the Wicked, or some of this, a couple bucks, because stores are trying to clear them out and stuff like this. And talking more recently, especially with the comeback of vinyl, I was still finding deals though. Like, was it, I think this past year, I can't remember, sometime in the summer, I was down at our local flea market there, and there's a couple vendors there that carry lots of vinyl and stuff. And just out of glance, I wasn't even looking for anything, but came across two classic Petra albums at $10 each. I got This Means Fire, This Means War, and All Fired Up at $10 each. So if you look, you can still find deals on vinyl, but man, if you look at the price of new vinyl compared to what we used to pay,
Oh, it's insane. Because they reissue a lot of stuff, and then they put them on like blue colored vinyl or blood splattered colored vinyl or whatever crazy thing.
Oh, I know, that's the big thing now, is colored vinyl and stuff.
Yeah.
How many cassettes did you go through, Terry, at Rockstead when someone called in for a certain song that you had to stop, rewind it, and then, half an hour later you had to do it again, compared to now, right? You could just...
Yeah. No, it wasn't too bad, because I was trying to move away from cassettes and get as many CDs as I could. So it wasn't that bad in the beginning, but yeah, I mean, I used a lot of, I wore out a few cassettes here and there. But back then it was weird, because you, even like with Stryper albums and stuff, I'd wear out a copy and I go, it's I can't even play it anymore. It's all gummed up or whatever, and I throw it out, right? And then I go buy the new thing, and it's like, I wish I would have kept all that Stryper stuff. It's collector's items now, man. Collector's.
Oh yeah, even if they're not playable, just the fact that you've got it, or got the original cover or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Like, you can get like reissues now on CD and stuff like that, but to have the original Enigma Records pressings is pretty cool, because Enigma was like, who are they? I never even heard of them until they signed Stryper. And then it was funny. I don't know if you remember this, like when you said you got into Stryper around In God We Trust, Aaron, you were saying?
Yeah.
And by then they were on, like, they had major label distribution. Like Enigma was the small label. And then once they got big on MTV, then I don't know who they went with for major distribution, but it was pretty popular. And then, of course, Enigma was getting all these requests. Now we got to sign the next Christian rock band, because Stryper's hot. Now, who else do we sign? Do you remember that? Do you remember who they signed after that?
No. Do you?
Guardian, the original.
Right.
Okay.
I was just thinking about them. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That first album did nothing, because they had a different singer than the guy they eventually got, and it just tanked. They also, I think, Baron Cross was another Enigma Records signing, but nobody ever matched Stryper, which to this day I think is the one of the biggest Christian rock bands to sell
Ever. Yeah.
Petra was in there, but Petra never had crossover appeal like Stryper. And then was it in the 90s or 2000s, POD come along, and POD sold.
Yes, that's right. They just rocked.
Yeah.
But
they didn't have the staying power that Stryper has. I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, do you think Stryper overall in over 40 years sold more records than any other Christian rock band?
Oh, I
You know,
looked
quite
online.
possibly.
Yeah, I looked online. They're one of the top selling Christian. They don't even characterize Stryper as a rock band anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
What?
it's
What,
strange.
they're a metal band or something now, or what?
Yeah, they just call them a normal rock band.
Oh, I mean, it's a Christian band. Well, Stryper themselves, and I think this was to get away from this the stigma of the label, but they don't call themselves a Christian band, more as Christians that are in a band. And I actually was talking to someone else about this, about the distinction of the two, and because Stryper's so bold in their lyrics and still bold in their lyrics, I would still say that they're a Christian band. Again, they don't like calling themselves that, but there was a lot of stigma attached to being a Christian rock band, and even Michael talks about the early days when they were getting flack from both sides. The
Oh,
metal community didn't like them because they were Christian. The Christian community didn't like them because they were metal. And
yeah, like they were caught in the middle. It must have sucked being
Yeah.
them for a while.
And especially with their recent album, right? And their single "Goddamn Evil" and Walmart shoving them off their stands because of the title of the song.
yeah, although that's not the most recent, Chris. The most recent now is the Final Battle, which
Oh,
is
right, the Final Battle.
over a year
Right.
old. But that is one of the recent ones. Yes.
That's pretty ironic, though, eh?
Well, that came out, and I thought, and then they got flack, not just from Walmart, but from a few fans about that. And I thought it just sounds like the flack from "To Hell the Devil" all over again.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, they even got. I remember hearing the first bunch of flack that they got was actually from the Soldiers Under Command, their second album,
Right.
the cover, because they were getting complaints like, "You're holding guns, you're promoting violence, blah 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 blah," and I was like, really. And of course, Stryper, they're so eloquent in their words, and they always talk in metaphors. This is like, well, we're soldiers under God's command, and so these are weapons of, like, we're making a metaphor here. We're not talking about having guns and shooting people. It's a allegory. It's like the we're waging war against evil and all that stuff. And like, people didn't, like the Christians and the hardcore rockers and the guys who they got it. We all got it.
Yeah.
If you look back of the album, I don't know if do you have it there with you, Aaron and Chris?
Not in front of me. I know the picture you're talking about, where they got that battle van and they're all standing there with the guns and stuff like
Yep.
this. We can get into that as we talk about the album itself there. But yeah, that was another strange cover. I didn't get it. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate them for the cover. I don't know if I got it. I mean, it makes sense. You're right. Soldiers under command, and so they're soldiers. I guess it does make sense in that respect.
Yeah, but you can imagine, like, when it first came out, 85.
Yeah.
Where you can imagine some people were, because sometimes, some believers, their underwear is a little too tight, and they make or whatever, and they could just loosen up and just listen to the lyrics and listen to what they're saying. And Robert Sweet, on the drummer, on the back of the album, he's holding two looks like two katana swords.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, weapons of war, or just weapons, and again, they still got flack for it, but they looked like they looked pretty cool on Yellow and Black Attack, but on the second album, Soldiers Under Command, they looked really cool. That's when they got their That's when they got their yellow and black outfits really going.
Oh, okay. So they didn't have it for the Yellow and Black album?
No, on the Yellow and Black Attack album, they just look like, LA street musicians or whatever. They're looking pretty cool, but the yellow and black colors for the outfits didn't come until the second album. So I don't know what they were like live, if they incorporated it back then, but it was full on after that.
Right.
Guitars, you got Oz Fox has got a really cool Charvel yellow and black, with a 777 on it, and
Right. Yeah.
they're sold out to it by then.
Oh, definitely. Anyways, yeah, let's get back to the album. We done a lot of talking just in general, and this is great. Where we are with Stryper, our history of Stryper, love for the band. I mean, definitely one of my top favorite bands, pretty much of all time, really. But so the Yellow and Black album, Loud and Clear, is the first track off of there. You know what?
Doing a
That
song
was
breakdown. I didn't know that. Cool.
what's that?
We're doing a song breakdown. That's cool.
Yeah, we'll do some.
Okay.
You remember that, and it starts off with that wah, boom, boom, just kicks right in. What a great way to start an album off,
Yeah. Yeah.
I said, that's a great intro. I was actually just listening to it, I think today even, and it's got the bass line right before the solo kicks in.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
And if you listen at the end of it there, just is, those lead riffs there at the end of the song, everybody's trying to get in the last little kicks. Oh, it's great.
Yeah, they set a tone, I would say, right off the bat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
As you should.
Yeah. And then, then we move on from wrong to right, starts off with Michael Sweet and his scream, and he still does that scream,
I can't believe that a guy like that could do that. That's just incredible.
You were talking about how great his voice was, and it's still great. I'm not sure if it's at the same level as it was in the early days.
No.
They did a recent live recording from Spirit House where they did "To Hell the Devil" songs start to finish live. You can hear not every note is there, and it's not a bad thing. I mean, his voice still sounds great. It just wasn't where it was back then, but this is 40 years later as well too. So
yeah, 40 years later. And he even said that a lot of bands, as they get older, they'll tune down.
Yeah.
Tune their guitars down a little tiny bit. And he said that saved his career, because now he can still sing all the same songs, but just slightly lower, but it'll still sound good to the untrained ear. Like if you're a musician, you'll probably be able to tell, but if you're not a musician, you'll go, oh, it just sounds good. And that's all they need.
Yeah. And I saw one band where they played a set list where, according to the original recordings, like they were a cover band, and according to the original recordings, half their set was tuned down and half the set would have been in standard tuning. And I talked to the guitarist afterwards. Actually, it's a buddy you and I both know, Rob, there's Saramega, and he said he played the entire set tuned down. And when you're sitting there in the audience listening, you really don't notice the difference.
That's true. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
Unless you have perfect pitch, and you've been listening to these songs all your life, and if like some guys have perfect pitch and they know if you tune your guitars down, but like you can't fault Michael Sweet for wanting to do that, because we've seen all these singers in hard rock and metal, they just can't sing like 40 years ago. And what do you expect, right? You record these records when you're 20, and you don't think you're going to be singing them when you're 60.
That's right.
Yeah, you know what? It's weird. I've been thinking about that. Rock and roll was meant to be a young man's game, and yet we got these old guys, 40 years later, still doing it. And I mean, Judas Priest, was it Rob Halford's like 70, and I'm not sure if you're hearing any of their new stuff, he still sounds incredible. Here we thought bands would be come and go, and yet they're still around.
Yeah, Halford's one of those guys that can still do it. Obviously, Michael Sweet, Paul Stanley can't do it anymore. Don Dokken can't do it anymore.
Oh,
Stephen can't do it.
Yes. Don Dokken. I heard the new album that he put out, and they said, you could tell there's a lot of auto-tune and a lot of correcting going. This is his voice doctored up. Oh my. It just wasn't impressive at all.
Yeah.
And there's another Christian singer out there who came out about the same time. They were from the southern states, and he came out with high vocals, high energy vocals. Their biggest album, lots of screams on it and stuff like this. It's taken a toll on his voice, where he still sings, but his voice isn't the same anymore. And I don't want to fault him for it. It's not my thing, the way his voice has changed. However, the band is still going. They're still putting out albums. They've got tons of fans that still love what he does. It's different than what he used to be. And if he's still got fans that are willing to buy his stuff, great. He's actually busy. He's been recording for lots of projects. People send their music in over the internet. He lays down the vocals at home and sends it back through the internet. So as far as I can tell, he's been busy. His voice
you're
isn't.
Who is
What's
it?
that?
You're killing me. Who is this? Who are you talking about?
Dale Thompson. And I don't want to
Oh.
run the. I don't want to run the guy down. I don't want to sound like I'm running him down because the way his voice is now isn't my thing. I don't mind it sometimes. Sometimes it works. It's very scratchy, almost like when Tom Kiefer sings, but more so.
Yeah.
There are songs where it works, and I think it sounds good. And the songs where I don't think that style works. And I don't want to run the guy down. Like I said, he's got lots of fans. He's got anytime he does anything online and puts himself out there, tons of people are saying how great he sounds. So I think that's great. If he's got fans that love him even now,
Yeah, if he likes it and he's comfortable with it, all for it. Go for it.
all I can say is it just his voice doesn't sound like it did back on the days of Snakes in the Playground anymore. And he's actually just re-recorded that. Him and his brother are turned it all into an all acoustic album.
Oh boy. Oh, well, good for them.
Yeah, he plans on doing a double album coming out later this year, and we're trying to get back to Stryper here. But yeah, like I said, Michael Sweet still got the voice, even if it's not exactly the same. Man, it still sounds good after all these years.
There is a Stryper connection there, Aaron.
Yeah.
If you recall, there was a time when, I know we're getting away from the first two records, but we're talking about Stryper. There was
Of course.
we're talking how they were kind of caught in the middle, and the secular scene was going Stryper, Bible thumpers. We can't get behind this, and the Christian side was like, oh well, they're too rock and roll. They're wearing tight trousers and stuff. We can't get behind. So they're middle, and they're just always being wrestled with. And then they put out the Against the Law album, and that was kind of the rebellious album years or whatever. And then there was a time when they took a break, and there was no, like, Michael Sweet went on to do his own solo stuff.
That's right. I have one of his singles from his
Yeah.
solo.
Yeah, his solo stuff was pretty good, but the connection there with Dale Thompson was they had him going to be the singer in Stryper for about 5 minutes.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
I remember them talking about that on another podcast or somewhere.
That would have been amazing because Dale Thompson back then was like peak. He was in his peak.
Oh yes.
Years, and he could have done it. He could have sung that stuff, no problem. But I think that's very interesting that you brought up Bride and Dale Thompson, because for a few seconds there, he just about was the singer in Stryper.
That would have been interesting. I don't know. Then that brings in the whole issue of bands that, and I've kind of leaned more into it with bands that change singers. Sometimes they have to because there's just no way they're going to get along. Sometimes they have to because one has passed away or whatever. It brings up a whole new dynamic when that happens. But anyways, let's get back to Soldiers. We kind of skipped a few songs there. We were on Yellow and Black. We did was Loud and Clear, Around the Right. I think we did that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You Know What to Do. That's not a bad song, actually. You Know What to Do. Again, it's got great vocals, great harmonized lead work.
Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
I love how you skipped the ballad.
I was just going to say
always
that.
I was going to talk about that afterwards.
Talk about that.
That wasn't on the original EP. That was on the re-release. But you know what?
I thought
yes, I'm not a big ballad. Some of their ballads are okay. Some of them are, well, it's Stryper song. It's a ballad, okay.
Ballads are good. I like his ballads too. He's a very talented writer.
Yeah, I'm a
sure.
little annoyed by all the songs, and yeah, My Love I'll Always Show. All I wrote down was that's the ballad.
That's all you want to comment?
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, moving on.
Yeah, we're gonna move on to the next song. Come On and Rock. Because that is the next. Well, after You Know What to Do, Come On and Rock. There's a reason they put songs in an order. You know what they do? Come On and Rock.
Well, back when they in the vinyl days, most people would just put on the vinyl and put it on side one, and you had no choice. You just let the record play, and so the record company and the band, they want to make sure that you hear the song order the way that they want you to. So
Yes.
that's start off with Loud and Clear. That's making a statement right off the bat. That's the first thing you hear on that record. And then Come On Rock, that's on side 2 of mine anyways.
Yeah, probably would have been if you had vinyl. That's about halfway through the album there and stuff. And then after that was You Won't Be Lonely.
Big
Not
harmony.
bad.
Yeah, big harmony. Yeah, big
Yeah.
ballad.
And I wouldn't call that a ballad. I was listening to that. I'd say it's more mid-tempo. It's not one of their fast rock songs, but I think it's a little faster than what you would typically say a ballad is.
It almost reminds me of the new, like, of Nickelback now.
Okay.
Just the way that it opened and like, hey.
That's the first I've ever heard a Stryper and Nickelback. So good on you.
Sorry. Sorry.
I like Nickelback, but yeah, they're just not in the same league as Stryper.
Like, nothing against Nickelback. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those guys that craps on Nickelback, but yeah, completely different. Although they both have the knack for writing catchy songs, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, as I was going through both of these, the EP and the full-length album there, Soldiers, finding a lot of things, a lot of the songs filled with, again, great rhythms, great riffs. And a lot of people didn't realize Michael was playing guitar right from day one, too. In fact, I think he showed a lot of the lead riffs to us and say, here's how the part goes type of thing. And you listen to a lot of this, between verses, there's this great fast riff type of thing. And all the solos are constructed incredibly, it'd be a melodic riff with a couple really fast fills thrown into it,
Yeah, and there was always, they really emphasized this on the early albums, a lot of dual lead guitar solos.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I'm sure there was times where they were trading back and forth the riff, and a lot of guys with two lead guitars can do that. This one plays the riff and the next one plays, and then they're back to first one and back to second. And yeah.
Did they ever have on any of those albums, guys? Did they ever have a female sing with them? Because I saw a picture of them, and there was I don't know if it was Michael's wife. So I thought, oh, maybe she sings with them.
Not that I know of.
I've never heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never heard. And I think anytime there was background was just the group and maybe a few background vocals layered, but all just done by the group, I think.
Maybe in future releases they might have had some like studio, singers or whatever. But like Stryper's so talented, they could do everything themselves. The only other singer I can remember singing with Stryper was they put out a compilation album, Can't Stop the Rock.
All right, yeah.
I
got that one.
Yeah, and you remember the song called Believe?
Okay, yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah. Okay.
Jeff Scott Soto was one of the vocalists on that album. He sang a couple of the lines with Michael Sweet on the.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the only one I can think of where there's other singers. But I was thinking, Chris, maybe you just saw a picture of Stryper and you just thought the guys in Stryper, because they do look like girls, right? So maybe...
you're right. I just thought of that. They're tight. Well, no, because she looked like they had the photographer, like her hair looked like a female, so it was definitely a female. But
and maybe just a picture with one of their wives or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And maybe she just, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
That's pretty interesting. Where are we at now? What song are we at?
Loving You, which was the last song on the EP. Because like I said, My Love Always Show and Reason for the Season were, My Love Always Show, yeah, you're right, we're stuck in the middle is somewhere. And then ending with Reason for the Season, which again wasn't a bad Christmas song, but the actual last song is Loving You. There again, another fast-paced song, great rhythm, great harmonies, great vocals. Typical Stryper.
Exactly, typical. I noticed that two of the songs on Yellow and Black Attack were written not by Michael Sweet, but by the whole band, just about. So
a lot of people think that Michael Sweet is the, he's the linchpin. He's the guy that runs the show, and I'm sure he does, and he does write most of the songs. But I like that Oz Fox and Robert Sweet and Tim Gaines got some
input.
yeah, some credit, album credit here. They're on You Know What to Do and From Wrong to Right, so that's pretty cool.
Well, good to know. Actually, I didn't even look at the credits on this one.
How do you do your songwriting, Terry? When you songwrite?
I just, oh boy. Well, you know what? For me, my general rule is, whenever something happens to me that's maybe negative or something that's kind of a bummer in life, instead of, like men do, we pack it down the feelings, right? The bad feelings, pack it down, and then you have a stroke when you're 58. And so I never did that. I just took all the bad feelings and I just wrote it down on paper, and then started writing songs. And that's sort of kind of was a bit of a lifesaver, instead of having a heart attack. You just, with anything in art, if you have art, if you take anything that's any negative feeling and just get it out somehow and use it artistically, it's very cathartic, and so yeah, that's kind of how I do it. I mean, I'm nowhere near the songwriters as Stryper is, and because I mean, these guys are world class, right? Everybody agrees they're world class. That's why we're talking about them today. So
yeah, that's right.
Well, and I think someone said too, like when they craft their solos, it's not just, they're not just doing pentatonics. I play, a little bit of guitar myself, a lot of blues bass guitar, blues bass theories. So you're dealing with the pentatonic scale, and these guys were well outside the pentatonic scale and creating these great riff to riff, really. And they're I wouldn't say they're in the same league as Eddie Van Halen, but they're close to it. Put it that way.
Well, the Michael Sweet, I mean, those guys, they grew up in LA, and they're as you know, heavily influenced by Van Halen. So
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think you can hear it. I mean, he wasn't like tapping like Eddie was, he wasn't trying to copy him at all. But you're right. They obviously saw what was going on around them, took that, and I think they made it their own. I mean, everyone wants to talk about, we mentioned this before in other podcasts about Christian bands that sound like other bands, and there was a big way of marketing a Christian band because they sound like some other band type thing like this. But Stryper always had their own unique sound.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like you guys are. Here's a funny comparison. You guys are old enough to remember, just classic rock, right? Just classic rock radio and that sort of. And I always thought it was funny when I first heard Stryper. I thought these guys are amazing. They look cool. They really spoke to me at the time of my life when I needed to hear it and see them, because they look cool. They've sounded cool. But it always struck me that Michael Sweet has a slight, I could be wrong, you tell me, that he has a slight resemblance to Dennis DeYoung of Styx.
Yes. I was thinking about that this week. I saw his picture. I thought about that too.
So if Dennis DeYoung was like a metal singer,
yeah,
it would be Sweet.
You never thought about that. I was going to say, were you compare him to what's his name from Boston?
Brad Delp. Yeah, no, I wasn't. But that's the thing. Like they don't sound alike. That's also funny because Tom Schultz of Boston, after Brad Delp passed on, asked Michael Sweet to be in Boston and do some gigs with them, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, he did for a short stint there.
Yeah.
I remember them talking about that. Yeah. So yeah, that's about it now for Yellow and Black. And then we'll move on to, I guess, Soldiers Under Command came out in 85. And actually we were talking about this, about the success of Stryper. And I'm not sure how quickly this happened, but I've also got a little side note here that they were the first Christian metal band to go gold with Soldiers Under Command.
Yeah, I believe it.
Didn't they that year? I looked online this week. That was the year that they were actually nominated to go perform at the Grammys, and they did. And then the whole Christian community kind of went berserk a little bit because of the show. I tried to find it on YouTube to watch it to see what happened. I have no idea why everybody uproar and what they did at the Grammys that year.
It might have been just the fact that it was a Christian band
That's right.
performing
And
at the
their
Grammys.
tight pants and long hair and
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, back then they like shocked everybody because
yeah, that's right.
yeah, but you look like every other sleazy, Sunset Strip band, and I can see how people were losing their minds.
Yeah.
There's a there's a video for Soldiers Under Command. Have you guys ever seen that?
I've seen it. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, I haven't watched the video. Maybe I'll look it up after we're done recording here. I haven't watched the video. I do have the live video that was filmed in Japan for actually when filmed on the Soldiers Under Command tour. I think it's called Live in Japan.
Yeah, that's pretty. I've seen that too. It's also kind of funny in that I think that was one of their first times in Japan when they were just, and it was around the time of Soldiers Under Command, was it not?
Yeah, it was filmed during that tour.
Yeah, and so I don't think they'd ever been there before, so I'm not sure how Michael Sweet was able to handle that. But there's a part in the video where I think somebody must have told him backstage before the show started. It's like, okay, you're in Japan, and maybe slow down, like don't talk too fast, and like make you're very
Yes, I've seen that over the years. I've seen that.
audience. And I think somebody told him that because whenever he talks to the Japanese audience, he's very methodical. It's like, are you having a good time? It was hilarious.
And,
I'll have to watch that again and look for that. I didn't even notice that.
The camera pans and there's people like, what the heck is he doing?
But that's really cool that they like a lot of bands, they kind of make it super big in Japan before they really break big in this.
Yeah. Did you ever see them in concert, Terry?
I did. I saw them once in a bar in Vancouver on the Against the Law tour in 1990.
Oh wow.
Wow.
It was crazy because I never thought I'd get to see them live and to see them that close.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's when things were starting to kind of fall apart for them. And there's a few technical issues, and there was a couple attitudes on stage, and it was very, very difficult to watch that because they weren't at their peak of their Christian rock powers, right? They were kind of rebelling a little bit, and it was you could tell that there was trouble in the Stryper camp, and they were still awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What about you guys?
No, I haven't. They're the one band I'd like to knock off my bucket list. I haven't yet.
No.
I'm hoping maybe some venue around here will reach out to them and book them for an upcoming tour and stuff like this. That actually happened. Got to see. We talked about this last episode. We're talking about Petra and the best of their songs, and I got to see Petra this past summer on their reunion 50-year anniversary tour. Because one church down in Cochrane, Alberta, wanted to see them, reached out to them and says, "Hey, would you think about coming here?" And they said, "Sure." So I'm hoping that happens with Stryper. And I reached out to a couple venues that would book bands of their caliber and say, "Hey, listen, send us to your booking agent. Here's a band that I think people would like to see come here." And I'm hoping one of these times one of the venues here will book them for a tour.
And you can pay them what they want. That's fine, but they're going to need to book a few shows if they want to come up here, right?
That's what I was just going to say. That's right. Yeah.
Got to
like
play
Edmonton, Calgary.
Yeah, that's right.
Vancouver, bigger cities, bigger markets.
Yeah, that would be pretty awesome.
That would be.
Anyway.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know, I might have to do a road trip if they come anywhere northern states close to where we are, I guess. But anyways, the album Soldiers Under Command, tell you, title track, what an intro.
Yeah, I like that opening song. That's pretty cool.
That's one of my favorite all-time Stryper songs. Like that still makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Soldiers Under Command.
And great intro. And and even Michael Sweet said that's one of his favorites to still play all this time. There were a few songs over the years that he's not so fond of, and I think and he's mentioned he didn't like Against the Law record, which I think stems more from where the band was at the time.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But he says I think top favorite songs was one of the newer ones, it wasn't Yahweh off of Fallen, and then Soldiers Under Command. And that's still one of his favorite songs to play. And they go from Soldiers to Makes Me Want to Sing. Again, another great song. Actually, what top songs on this album for me would be Soldiers, Makes Me Want to Sing, and then a few tracks later, The Rock That Makes Me Roll.
Yeah, good selection. Also, the this record is going to sound a lot better because they had like a world-class producer twiddling the knobs for this record. So that's probably why it sounds a little bit better too.
Right. Yeah. This was I didn't mention that, but yeah, produced by Michael Wagener, however that's pronounced, Wagener, Wagener or Wagener, something like that. He was actually a German producer and worked with a lot of big time bands over the years too.
Yeah, so it was good that they scored him at such an early age because they weren't that big yet, were they?
No. Well, like I said, if you look at it at the history, many people count this as their first full length recording.
Yeah,
that's right. Takes a lot to do that.
And all the songs on here, again, typical Stryper sounds, full of, like we said, the harmonized vocals, the great riffs. Sometimes is a little riff to start the song off. Sometimes the lead vocals, and again, we got a couple ballads on here. First Love, not bad. He's got some really high vocals on First Love.
He really sings that song well. He hits his notes.
I think if someone didn't know any differently, they might have thought that was a female singer.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, and then you show them what they look like, and that help.
And then what was the other ballad? Oh yeah, Together As One. Again, the typical ballad, and ballads have their place. Again, I'm not a big ballad fan. I don't hate them, I guess, but
you just don't like them, right? That's what you're saying.
And that's okay. We're not going to.
Exactly. That's right. Our audience might judge you, but we won't.
Yeah, let the audience be the judge. I think this is. Would you say this is overall a heavier album than the Yellow and Black Attack?
I think so. Yeah.
Like if you got rid of the two ballads, let's say.
Oh, well, we got rid of the ballads. Yeah.
I think. Even with the ballads, I think it's a heavier album than the first one, and the first one was pretty rocking. So, I don't know. Maybe this is just subjective.
It could be, and maybe it's a production. And I thought about that too. I was listening, like I said, back to back or whatever, listening to Yellow and Black. The songs were good and written well, and I think the production wasn't there. And then you talk about bringing in the world-class producer for Soldiers, and I think there is a difference just in the sound of the album.
Oh, agree. Yeah, 100%. There's I remember listening. You mentioned "Makes Me Want to Sing" was one of your top 3 songs on this album, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
And there was I can't remember who did it, but there was a Stryper tribute album that came out.
Oh, yes.
Or something, and one of the bands did "Makes Me Want to Sing," and they looped the very the very last big high note that Michael Sweet sings at the end of the song.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They looped it so that when they hit that note, it was just a loop of his voice.
Ooh.
And it went on 16 seconds or something. It was crazy. It was pretty funny, but that's a pretty good song. I'd have to say Soldiers and Reach Out are my favorite songs on this one.
Reach Out is another good one too. It typically didn't stand out, but again, as I was listening to it, what I written down beside that was, all the Stryper elements. So, again, it's got your harmonized guitars, it's got the harmonized vocals, and great rhythms and tight all the way throughout the song. These two albums definitely showed the world, I think, who Stryper was, what they stood for, and stuff like this. It's funny going back to Yellow and Black there, and they got signed by Enigma, and they've been playing these songs and played them before they were signed, and they go and record them, and Enigma didn't realize they were a Christian band. He says, "What do you mean? When you listen to our words.
Well, that actually that's a good testament towards how good of just a musical act they were. Like the idiots, the pinheads, the record company didn't listen to the lyrics. They were just looking at the band, seeing them live, seeing how hard they rocked, and seeing how good they were. So that just sort of superseded everything. The fact that they were just a darn good band, and I think that's a testament to them, because some people, as you can imagine, they get scared off by the lyrics.
Yeah.
Well said.
And so, yeah, instead of going through, like I said, we're running high on time here. Instead of going through every song on Soldiers on Command, maybe we should spend more time talking about that. But I think it would have been the same old, hit a rock song. Oh, there's another great rock song. Hit a ballad. Well, that's the ballad. Hit another rock song. Oh, another great rock song. The only song on here that sounds different, and I like it. It was just because of it's. I guess you'd say it was a cover song, and it sounds very different because of that. Is the Battle Hymn of the Republic?
Yeah, it does sound different, but I've never heard it sound better.
Definitely. I'm almost thinking, they almost should have Stryperized it, thrown in, lead riffs at the start of the song or in the middle. Not that I hate the song. I don't hate the way they've done it, but when you compare it to the rest of the album, it almost sounds like it doesn't fit. But the song on itself is done great.
I'm glad they put it last, because that sort of made a little statement, a little like they're sort of making a stand one more time, as if you didn't understand what they're talking about or what they're all about. Then they do this, this great old hymn.
Yeah.
And then it should be unmistakable, but they make it big and bombastic and huge. I do like that part of it.
Yeah. And if you didn't get if you didn't get the picture on the cover, this is the battle hymn.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think they nailed it.
Well, you got anything else to say about Stryper in their first couple albums?
They're good. I like them.
What can you say? Like said, I know when I contacted you about doing this, you said great, and I said, are you still an old time Stryper fan? We can talk about first couple albums out, first couple releases, and you said, yeah, I got that, and I'm a big fan. Haven't bought anything beyond what did you say? What the last time you said you bought?
Well, the last Stryper album I bought was the Covering.
Okay.
The Covers album.
Right.
I also have Reborn, which is an excellent album too.
Yes, that's a good one too.
You got that one too?
I've got everything except the Covering, though I did buy the brand new song on the Covering, God.
Yeah.
And you bring up Reborn. That is actually my least favorite of the Stryper catalog.
Really?
Yeah. And only because the sound was so different. And the history of that one, it wasn't even meant to be a Stryper album and stuff. It was meant to be a Michael Sweet solo record.
That's what I heard, yeah.
And when he played it for Oz, they were talking about bringing Michael back in the band and trying to get him to agree to come back in the band. And he says, well, I'll come back, but the conditions have to be right, and we have to actually walk our walk, not like we were doing back in Against the Law days type, and we have to walk the walk that we're talking type of thing. And when he realized the band can do that again, he says, yeah, we'll come back. And then they released Reborn under the Stryper name. But that one is so different. There was none of the harmonized leads anymore. Even the rhythms were much different. It almost sounded like Stryper trying to be a whole new band. Song-wise, like lyric-wise, it's great. Michael actually a few years back with his own band redone that album, brought in more guitars, brought in lead solos. I like the way that one was done. He called that Reborn Again or Reborn or something like that. But yeah, just because of the sound of it, it was so different. But I did buy, like I said, I do own everything except for the Covering. And I don't have what was it? The album where they redid a lot of their songs. Because part of that was they didn't own the songs that were done by Enigma or produced by Enigma.
Right. A lot of bands do that. They'll re-record albums so that they
can
be under their own umbrella and they'll make the money from it.
And that brings up the one song that Chris brought up on one of the other podcasts. He was talking about the song Blacking from the Inside Out. I think that's Bleeding from the Inside Out.
From the Inside Out, I did.
Yeah,
I don't remember that, but okay.
That's on this album. Well, you brought up some like.
I brought up the new one that they just released in the last 2 years.
Yes, no, but on one of the other podcasts, you were talking about Bleeding from the Inside Out, and I.
Yes, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I didn't remember that song until I went back and listened to what do they call it? The re-released versions anyways. And I think that was a new song that they put out on that one, along with the song called Blackened. Because what I did was songs I didn't have, I bought the download for. So the re-releases, I don't have the entire album. The covers album, I don't have the entire album. But I've got, the new versions of some of the songs. And then otherwise I've got everything they've put out.
So you're a super fan.
He is. He really is. He really is. Yeah.
And and then I've gone into the new albums as well as the old stuff. And I think it's nostalgia talk. And I know one guy was on another podcast was talking about new compared to old, and he says, even talking about Stryper, he said the new stuff is great and is done better. It's recorded better production wise today is better than it was 40 35 years ago, and I got nothing against the new songs. I like the new songs, he says, but when you throw on To Hell the Devil, it just nothing sounds like that.
That's right.
And I would agree. I think that's more nostalgia talking for us old guys, remembering what it was when that album first came out, and a little bit of a time machine taking us back to those days.
Yeah, those are timeless. But I do appreciate the fact that Michael Sweet is still, getting up to bat, still swinging for the fences, still singing great. The band, for the most part, is still together. 3 out of the 4 original members, and still playing a lot of those old tunes that we grew up listening to and being influenced by it. So kudos to Michael Sweet for keeping that, that machine rolling, because they're not doing it because they need the money or anything. They do it because they've always been Stryper. They do it for the love of the music, and people want to keep hearing those bands, especially 80s bands that are still doing it. And I think that's terrific that they're still going and being productive, putting out new stuff. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's great, and I think it's great too that fans are loving the new stuff as well as the old stuff. And I mean, it makes it incredibly hard deciding what kind of set list you can do when you go on tour, because people want to hear everything from pretty much every album or something from every album, put it that way.
Yeah, the catalog is so huge. Like, I don't know, what do you pick? When you're playing a show?
Yep. You're still rocking. Wow.
Yep. Good on them.
So what are you up to these days, Terry?
Oh, well, right now I'm keeping warm.
Yeah, I hear you.
No, just doing my thing, working a job, and continuing to play in Sawbones, and keep active musically and stuff like that. What are you guys doing on this weekend? Like, is this your podcast day? Is this going out live? Do you save it? Do you edit this? Do you put it out?
Yeah.
Like, what do you do here?
Yeah, Aaron will edit it. And
what's the name of the podcast?
Metal Faith.
Oh yeah, well, you better be metal. Don't wimpy.
Yeah. Well,
wimpy.
yeah, it'll be metal. It'll be the podcast will dive into stuff, not just metal, but rock, hard rock. Like I said, we were talking about Petra and the history of Petra. They're not really metal, but they made their mark on the scene, I think. So
yeah, no, good selection. That's a good idea. I'm glad you were doing that. What's your next one going to be?
I haven't decided. Like, not all topics will be based on a band. Actually, Chris brought up an idea that probably in the future we'll get around talking about Ken Tamplin and his work. And, he's had like a long career. And Shout, and his solo stuff, and
he's really amazing.
Yeah, he's a big influence, and he's doing like some music
school. What is he doing? Like he's teaching singers how to sing
There,
or
yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
vocal lessons.
I've taken the course, and it's amazing. It really is. It's incredible. But
Cool.
it's a lot of money, though. That's the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's got to make a living.
Yeah, we all do. So
Yeah. That's right. Well, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. This was really fun.
Great. Yeah. Hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah.
You know, next time we do a Stryper record or anything, we can definitely do it again.
Yeah.
So if we're doing a Nickelback thing, you're not going to come back?
I like Nickelback, but I'm not. I don't know a ton of them of their stuff. So, you could call me if you want, but I'll just be like, yeah, whatever he said.
We appreciate that.
Right on.
It's been great chatting with you, Terry.
Cool, man. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Talk to you later, man.